morning, everyone. It's always good to be back here, my old alma mater. I graduated from Chemical Engineering Department a while back ago, and now I'm the Manager of Innovation and Carbon Strategy with Paper Excellence Canada. So today's presentation has a bit of different theme compared to the last two presentations. I'm going to focus on decarbonization opportunities for pulp and paper industry and for us to help other industries to move into that direction. A bit of background about my company, Paper Excellence. We are one of the largest pulp and paper companies in Canada and in the world. We produce about 12 million tons of pulp per year and 3.2 billion board feet of lumber. We operate in four countries, mostly in Canada, US, Brazil, and France. We have more than 21,000 employees worldwide, and we sell our products in 60 countries in the world, and we operate 58 facilities. A bit of history about our company. Our company's growth was mostly through acquisition. You can see that, about 2 decades ago, we started with a small mechanical pulp mill in Middle Lake, and then through several acquisitions, now we are one of the largest pulp and paper companies in the world. We acquired Hooman Pulp from Canfor, Skookum Chalk, Northern Pulp, and our growth exponentially accelerated in the last 4 or 5 years with the acquisition of Catalyst Paper, Domtar, and then Rezaei through our Domtar, which is our subsidiary right now. So at the moment, we are going through an integration process that, these names, might become irrelevant in the future years. It would be Paper Excellence Group, and it is Paper Excellence Group, and we'll have different business units within our organization. Because we now have, through these acquisitions, we have product in almost all sectors of pulp and paper. We produce pulp, paper, obviously, packaging, tissue, and wood products. But I have to mention that one of our biggest products that we produce in our facilities is actually electricity, green electricity, with very low carbon intensity and heat. We sell a lot of green electricity to BC Hydro. That's one of our major sources of revenue, actually, and also heat we sell to utilities and companies that are around our facilities. We are the second largest pulp producer in the world after International Paper. We are the third largest producer of NBSK and fluff pulp in the world, and largest unbleached kraft pulp producer in the world as well. Going into sustainability and shifting the gear a bit. Sorry, These data are for our organization, but I can say that pulp and paper industry historically was a pioneer in sustainability. From old days, we were sourcing our energy. Pulp and paper industry is a very energy-intensive industry. However, given still under those conditions, we were sourcing most of our energy from renewable sources. So on the bottom right, you can see the share of renewable energy in our subsidiary companies. They are mostly, in the north of 80%, 85%. And on average, Paper Excellence sources 77% of its energy from renewable sources. And we also have industry as a whole. We have a very good track record of reducing our non-biogenic emission reductions. Since 90s, we reduced our emissions by about 70% since 1990 compared to our most recent data in 2022. So going back to how our industry can help with the decarbonization, further decarbonization of itself, and also help with the decarbonization of other industries. You probably hear a lot of commitments and pledges that big company, they want to be net zero. So what does that mean? Net zero means that they have to reduce their Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3 emissions. It means that they have to source renewable fuels. It means that they have to source renewable chemicals for their Scope 2 emissions. And also it means that the product that they're putting out of their doors, their facilities, it has to be carbon neutral. So that is why we believe that forest industry has a big role to play, and there is a big opportunity for us to monetize on this opportunity and also further decarbonize our industry. Why is that? Because historically, our industry is a very circular industry. Our operation is very circular. When you look at all aspects of our operation, from logging, and forest regeneration from wood product, producing lumbers for buildings and structures. Everything mostly is being recycled and is then being processed in our pulping facilities. We generate energy, which is clean energy, low carbon intensity energy, and then we produce a fair amount of CO2, but it's mostly biogenic CO2. Right now, we monetize on our renewable electricity portion of our product. However, a lot of work can be done on producing renewable fuels and renewable chemicals in our industry. Why is that? Because we have abundance of electricity in our facilities. The electricity is very low carbon intensity. That means that you can potentially produce hydrogen, which is low carbon intensity hydrogen that will qualify for the generation of e-fuels and e-chemicals. We also have abundant amount of carbon dioxide. As a chemical engineer, I love to go into the chemistry of these pathways, but I was told that to keep it at very high level. Bottom line is that with green electricity, you produce hydrogen. With having CO2, you have options to produce a large array of products, e-fuels like hydrogen or methanol or carbon monoxide, or e-chemicals like ammonia and methanol. And the third category of product, or it's not product, is actually, for you is to capture that carbon dioxide and sequestrate it or permanently hold it. All of these three categories, it can generate what we call carbon dioxide removal credits, or CDR credits. Why is that important? Because you can then sell that credit in a voluntary market at a relatively reasonable price. That's an emerging market that is growing significantly now. You might hear news from big organizations that they pay big dollars to offset their emissions. For example, JP Morgan, they just pledged $200 million to buy carbon offset credits to decarbonize their operation. Microsoft the same. So that is a huge opportunity for companies like us. That graph on the right-hand side shows the number of credits that were generated. The number of credits are equal to a ton of CO2 equivalent gas that has not been emitted or has been basically permanently stored. So in 2021, it was around 380 million, and in 2022, it was significantly higher. Unfortunately, I don't have the number. So that's a $2 billion business back in 2020, and we expect that that number will grow exponentially by 2030 to about $10 to $40 billion. So that is a major focus area for us, to focus on, to both reduce our emission and also to help other industry to decarbonize their emissions and also monetize on our emissions. I mentioned all these exciting news. Obviously, from the chemistry side, everything is possible. You can go through all of these chemical pathways to produce hydrogen, to split carbon dioxide, which is a fairly stable molecule. However, these technologies are costly. They are not cheap. They are order of magnitude more costly than the conventional method that you produce these chemicals. So the uptake of these technologies is not following the trend or the requirement that is for the decarbonization of our country and the world. And why is that? Because there aren't enough incentives. There aren't enough regulation and incentives for many of these technologies to scale up and to move into a much larger scale that can have a meaningful effect on the reduction of greenhouse gases. The third one, which is mostly around trading carbon dioxide removal credit, is that the registering and also the quantifying of the credit and also the mechanism for trading those credits, between even Canadian provinces or countries is very complicated, and they are not in place right now. So if you generate a credit, in one region, it's difficult, to basically, to effectively trade it in a different country or in another continent. So that is actually one of the challenges that, slows down the acceleration of these new pathways. With that, that's my presentation. I would be around for lunch and for the event, so I'll be happy to chat with you if you have any questions or comments.